Welcome to part 2 of our discussion based around women and their representation in video games. So, to bring it back round to the gaming side and women characters as well, and as we attempt sort of now maybe just to wrap up, we'll maybe do another episode and revisit this again. Obviously, I don't want to say that sexualization of women is inherently a 100% bad thing. It should never happen or anything like that. Because there's one character in video games that stands out and has used her sexualization in such a way that it transcends the negatives of it. But I've always felt awkward about how I feel about the character, and I can never put into words why I think it's a good thing, whereas others are a bad thing. And that is Bayonetta.
Yeah,
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah,
I was like,
where
it's Bayonetta.
As women, where does she sit when you see her? And again, she's over sexualized, but the way it's written, it's her choice, and she uses it as a way to overcome prejudice or to give her extra power. But it's not in a way for pure titillation. It's got a use for it. So I've always been never been able to put into words what I feel about that.
I have mixed feelings on her as well, because she reminds me a lot of one of my favorite characters growing up. Was Ivy from Soul Calibur. Now, her official art and stuff is it's insane. She's practically naked, but I also think she's really powerful, really strong. That's actually a woman there that's, quite buff and in some ways masculine, but she's got, giant boobs and her bum's out. So men are okay with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to Bayonetta, I just more of a problem is so your hair is magic? You shoot with your with guns on your feet, that's cool, but how?
Yeah.
I'm just she more perplexes me. I only ever played the demo for the first ever game, because I like it was cool, but I wasn't really that pushed on it. But I've being a woman in kind of the gaming media, I'm just keep my ear to everything. And yeah, she kind of balances that line of, yeah, she's being sexualized, but also she is powerful, and you wouldn't want to get in her way. It is this really weird line that she straddles, as much of a sexualized image that is.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think I don't think sexualization in itself is necessarily a bad thing. I think what the problem is that the images of women are nearly all sexualized, and that does not reflect reality, because women, some women feel empowered by being sexualized, some women don't. Some people like to cover themselves up, some people don't. And I think the problem is that when the characters are consistently sexualized, even if they are really strong, it's clearly still sort of coming back to this agenda. We need to please the male players of the games and stuff, and there just needs to be a bit more diversity in that regard. I think you need to have more powerful women who are not sexualized, and you need to have a real variety of characters. And
sexualization in particular, it's the oversaturation of the sexualization. And to the point where men expect that every character should appeal to them sexually.
So do you think it comes down a lot to context as well then? So obviously with Bayonetta, it makes sense in the world that's built, the character that she is, and it's a fantasy world, so she can have magical hair. That stands to reason. But then you look at Quiet in Metal Gear Solid 5.
I was just thinking about Quiet.
It's ridiculous.
That is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you look at fantasy games and the armor, or lack of a better word, or lack thereof, sorry.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, it's again, Bayonetta, I get it works in the context. She's got magical hair. She's like Batfink with hair. But it's Quiet is ridiculous, and you've got women who have got great armor stats, but they've got literally something maybe covering their nipples, and everything else is on show, and it's you're not going into battle prepared for that.
Yeah, it's like I used to play World of Warcraft quite a bit, and some of the armor that you used to get, the full, torso of the female characters would just be completely revealed, and yet it was meant to be really good armor, and it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It was just a metal bikini.
Yeah, basically, and it makes it really, like, not even if you don't take the sexualization into account, it just doesn't make any sense. It just does not make any sense. And the thing is, I've never played the game, but Quiet, I've had people sort of talking about it quite a bit, and when I heard about the character, it just made me feel as if they were looking for a reason for her to be that way, to dress that way, and it felt sort of like they were shoehorning it into the game in a way that just, I don't know, it's just always not been very appealing to me. That it always felt very awkward to me, but that's just my take on the matter. So
even when armor for female characters isn't, just a bikini, it's still like got boob shape.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, when you look at realistic armor of people who do, actual like LARPing and stuff like that, and reenactments, historically accurate stuff, there is no boob shape, because your boobs ain't gonna fit in there at that time. Because chances are you're gonna wear something really restrictive because you're moving a lot.
Yeah.
Which will give you the lovely uni boob that we're all fond
Mm.
of. And it'll squish it down. And when you're wearing it, like, it's like wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't have 2 boob plates when I wear a t-shirt or a tank top or any of my clothing, unless it's structured that way. And it doesn't make sense to have this kind of weak point right at the sternum, which is the solar plexus. Like a hit on that. Like, why make the metal thinner there and have these protrusions, which will just make it top heavy as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really makes no sense.
Just, it makes no sense at all. So it's clearly there just to be like, this character is a woman who has boobs.
Yeah, and it's bizarre. I mean, some games that do it lean right into it on purpose. And if you look at Dragon's Crown, for example, it's a ludicrous game, a vanillaware game, and the women are overly sexualized on that. But at the same time, they lent into it, and so are the men.
Yeah.
And it's what the men wear is just as ridiculous. And when a game does that, you kind of go, do you know what? It's a bit uncomfortable to play in front of people, but fair enough.
Yeah.
There, and I'm all in on both of them being overly sexualized. This is great. I'm just looking at images of this dude with a giant, like,
they've gone all in,
triangular chest.
If you're gonna do it, go all in, go stupid with it, which is what they've done. When you try and do it a bit underhanded, that's when it gets creepy.
Yeah.
For Becky's
oh Jesus.
viewing.
Oh my,
just so you know the kind of exaggeration we're talking about.
That is, wow. Yeah. Mental.
Yeah, no, it's like that. Yeah, but it works on a level because it is so ludicrous.
Yeah.
That I've seen it. One of the characters in there, the guy has bigger boobs than any of the women in the game. It's they are so top heavy, but it shows the ridiculousness of it. And I think it points it out really well. Now, I'm not saying it's a great example of how anyone should be treated in the game, but if you're going to lean into it.
Yeah, no, there's one game that I covered, and they did not do that. They just had the over-sexualized women and normal-looking men. And that was one thing that I was just like, not happy about this. Not like, even in a village entirely of women, they completely like ostracized men. They were still wearing like the skimpiest of outfits, and one of them was like, "Oh, you should go talk to the men sometime." And I'm like,
"Yeah,
please, no." I was not happy.
And what's interesting is one of the arguments you always hear, and it's one that always makes me laugh when you see it. People trot out now you can't even say to a woman she's pretty, or you can't say to a woman, "Oh, I really fancy you." You can't flirt with them. You can't go up to them in clubs. Well, you can. You absolutely can.
Yeah.
But if they're not interested, See, luckily for me, I was someone with no confidence whatsoever, so barely ever spoke to girls. But when I did try and got knocked back, I'd go back into my corner, into my shame corner, and just go, well, that wasn't worth me even trying because I'm a pathetic human being. Such was my confidence as a 18-year-old. But at the same time, yeah, I can happily admit, I can turn around. I mean, me and my partner talk about it all the time. It's like I find so and so on TV really attractive. I would like to have sex with that person, and so on and so forth. Doesn't mean that I'm, one, going to go and force that upon them. Two, I'm only going to watch stuff with them in if they are pleasing to me or being pleasing to me. Not going to happen. It's okay to say to someone they're attractive in a certain way, but it's not okay to force that upon them. And that's what I think a lot of women feel, is they're having all this forced upon them. They've got to still provide a certain look for men.
Another thing I've seen is that when you're paying a compliment, pay it towards their choices, like, oh, that looks really good on you, or like, think of how women compliment each other and how that's not creepy. I think that's where like the bi lesbians have an edge up, because we know how to compliment without it sounding creepy, in that, you know, oh, you've paired that really well together, or oh, you look really like fresh faced today, or, you know, just kind of like
not making it, not making it weird, really, just making it,
not sexualizing it entirely. Like, it's just really weird how some men will just like automatically go for sexy or hot and talk about certain body parts, and I'm like, no, tell me my work looks great, or tell me that, like, that, you know, the outfit I put together today looks really good, because chances are in a work environment I had to, you know, look professional and look well. I don't want to look slobby. So like, one of the best compliments I ever received from a coworker was that I looked really well that day, in terms of like what I was wearing, and I felt like, and I had picked it out because I thought it looked well. So,
and coming from, even like, obviously this is a mental health based thing overall, like the site and everything, is one of the things I've learned to do myself is actually, if I speak to people and I feel I might be saying something that they might not understand, or they might feel is offensive in the way I'm going to say it, I kind of preface it with, look, I apologise if this comes out wrong, but this is what I want to say to you. I'm not meaning it in that way. Just prefacing it, okay? Like,
at least showing some awareness.
And it's okay. I think what men need to be able to start doing is, if they do see a woman, they just go, look, let me know if I'm saying this in the wrong way, or you feel uncomfortable, but don't just go into it. So I was speaking with my partner. We've started watching Killing Eve, and one of the things I pointed out, I went, I don't know if this is going to sound creepy. Please tell me if it is. But Jodie Comer has an amazing face. And she went, why don't you say she's pretty? I went, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say she's pretty. She is, but I'm not trying to say she's pretty. But her face, she's got such the expressions she can put on her face.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Change. It's just amazing. I am so attracted to that. And it's not because of beauty or anything. It's just what she can do with her face. Now, I'm trying to preface.
I'm trying
to say that. I don't want that to come across as creepy, but I know how that can come across. And my partner went, well, maybe don't say it like that. Maybe just say that you know, the way she can portray different feelings in her face is really good, and you find, you know, it's something you like. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It's about,
I think what we need to do as men is start asking to be educated a bit more.
It's about being prepared to take on the. I think what happens a lot of the time is people just get defensive, and you know, and it's about just being, because obviously nobody's perfect. Everybody's you know, maybe said something wrong at some point. Everybody has done that. Nobody is perfect, but it's about being prepared to be taught and being prepared to say, okay, you know, thank you for helping me out. Sorry if I hurt you or whatever. It's about being able to take on that critique without feeling that because it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't mean that you're any worse as a person. In fact, if you're willing to take on the criticism and try to be better, it's the complete opposite. And you're just always being aware that you might make mistakes, but as long as you keep trying to educate yourself, it's fine. Yeah. As long as you keep trying to get better, it's fine. And that's not not just the case with men and with this issue, but with everything in life. Like, this is why I'm not really that keen on cancel culture, because it's this suggestion that nobody can ever change almost, and if somebody's being quite stubborn about something and it doesn't look like they're going to change, then fair enough, distance yourself from them, but do give people some chances to change and to try and learn, because that's better for everybody.
Look at that time, James Gunn, he made tweets like years previous. And now I'd say he's one of the, like, that they were quite controversial what he said, and he got like briefly fired over it because everyone was like, "Oh, this is problematic." But he not only had addressed it and learned from it years previous, but like he's one of the most progressive directors for like that sort of thing. Like he's, I follow him on Twitter, he retweets, and he's very like open with his fans, and does live streams with them all the time. And that kind of cancel culture, if we hadn't like fought back and just been like, give him back his job, then we would have lost out on a lot of great movies and a lot of great movies to come.
What I find happens as well, and I'm glad I actually mentioned the other bit before, because this could come out very, very wrong.
Okay.
There is a lot of hypocrisy from both men and women when it comes to how we see each other. Men want to see women as sexualized, but don't like it when they are sexualized. Like for me, one of the most awkward things is, again, it came from when I was younger. Because I don't look like Brad Pitt, because I don't look like whatever the latest Hollywood sex symbol is, I feel inadequate. It's something I've always had. I've always felt inadequate because whether we like to admit it or not, as men, we are sexualized in ways that are just as damaging mentally as women are. But what we have as men at the same time is we have tons of stronger characters that we can actually look to who aren't perfect still, that that aren't always ripped shirts ripped off and stuff like that. It's not every scene is going to be the volleyball scene in Top Gun.
Yeah.
Whereas women, there seems to be a lot of that in media where it is every scene is nigh on every scene, or a large portion of those scenes are women in some kind of sexual fantasy, no matter
and
how
if they're not, they're a
is.
grandmother.
Yeah.
They're a mother or a grandmother if they're not.
But at the same time, women do a lot of what men do. It's I occasionally, because my daughter watches Milkshake in the morning, I have the misfortune of having Jeremy Vine on. And that's like just to see what the right wing are saying, so I can make sure I'm not falling into that trap. You often see it. They'll talk about a story. They talk about a man, and you see them. I've just done a story about so and so woman, how they've been treated. Going, oh yeah, he's really fit, and he's. If you look at his body of late, he's really let himself go, and it's like the hypocrisy there. That can be frustrating. So it's not in a way, a complete defense of women are perfect and everything they do is perfect.
Yeah.
But there are things women do need to learn as well, how they see men as well, because we think we've got to be perfect, so we expect women to be perfect at the same time. And it's kind of to and fro, but because men have always been in a more powerful position, they can really throw that at women a lot more than women can the other way.
I think that's it.
See, the big problem is that it's the same with this stance of like men get raped too, all this sort of stuff. It's that they only bring it up when we're talking about our thing. It's always in response to our thing, instead of just on their own going, hey, stop sexualizing men so much, or hey, men get raped, let's talk about this, or men's mental health, let's talk about this. It's always in response to women talking about their thing.
Yes.
I think,
and that's where the problem lies.
I think it's the power structures as well, isn't it? Like it's the fact that men have traditionally been in power, and the fact that
once they realized they were important to baby making.
Yeah. Well, it's just this thing about when it's directed at women. I think the concern is that it is reinforcing a lot of bigger problems than necessarily it is when it's the other way around, which is not to say it's not important. It's obviously important both ways, and I do think that men do have it tough. That a lot of the men that you get in Hollywood and stuff are very ripped, and they're just not And one of the things that I have a problem with, with that is that when you've got all of these super ripped men in Hollywood, it suggests that is the sort of norm, when actually a lot of these actors have to go through very rigorous regimes to get to that sort of shape in order to sort of fill the role that they've been given, sort of thing. It's not a norm by any means, and it takes quite a lot of dedication to get to that point. And obviously that will be damaging to men, and growing up, sort of younger men, and how they perceive themselves, because that's not a norm by any stretch of the imagination, but it is the Hollywood norm.
A huge enjoyable film of mine that I really resonated with, and he's one of my favourite actors in the end, because he's never really changed himself too much to fit or conform with the roles he does, was when Ghost World came out. You've got Thora Birch in that, Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Now, Scarlett Johansson, that's before everyone... Yeah, everyone realised before she was, apparently she became super hot and everything like that. She played a donkey character, if you will, and almost frumpy. And Thora Birch carried on that same character. Thora Birch, I think, is one of the most... is an absolutely stunning woman, by the way. I absolutely love Thora Birch. And Steve Buscemi, he's all... I don't want to say, but he's always been seen as quote unquote ugly, because he's got an expressionist face to him. He's not like super bod or anything like that, and he's never really gone against like, I'm gonna have to get ripped, or I'm gonna have to get some kind of surgery, or do this and do that. And he's always been Steve Buscemi, and he's never let that affect his roles in any way, shape, or form. And I think he's an amazing actor, and I think he's someone who should be looked up to more, as to look, this is what a man is. This is more what a man is. Again, personality-wise, I don't know what he's like, and he could one day, this could age really badly in a couple of years. This little segment, but on that side of it, I've always gone, well, Steve Buscemi can do it, and he can do that, then maybe there is hope that it is about talent, that it's not just about how you look, because he has got to be one hell of an actor if he's able to get roles that others can't get. And he doesn't play the ugly character in a lot of them as well, which I find really interesting, that he gets the roles that would normally go to Hunk, for want of a better word. But yeah, Ghost World was the one that really set me to that. I think showing that you can make a film that's not about sexiness in any way, shape, or form. And I know there is, like, the story goes places with that, but I just think that is a wonderful film that showcases visually and metaphorically how people are.
Oh, but there is a lot more like variety when it comes to male actors. Like, there was that period in 2000s where Seth Rogen was the leading man in everything.
Yes.
And he was the bumbling, weed-smoking fat dude. Like, that was his shtick. Whereas, I'd say the closest you get with that with the women is Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
She is actually, like, way more talented. Like, my favourite Melissa McCarthy has always been her in Gilmore Girls. Now, she was bumbling and everything like that, but her weight wasn't played as a joke.
Yeah.
Like it is in a lot of the stuff that she went on to do. Like,
was she in Mike and Molly?
Yeah.
Which that was, unfortunately, that was completely played on weight, wasn't it? Unfortunately, that one.
Yeah, but Gilmore Girls, no, her weight is never, like, her weight is mentioned once. Yeah. And that's when she's going on a date and she's concerned that she looks like a marshmallow.
Yeah.
That's the time. Like, and I've watched Gilmore Girls like 10 times. It's kind of my obsession.
Melissa McCarthy, actually, she's a strange one for me in terms of, I didn't initially find her funny. And some of her films are god awful. I'm not going to hide that fact. But I've watched, but she's always the best thing in the bad films. She's such a good actress. And I liked her in Spy, which I thought was a bang average film, but she played that brilliantly. That was despite her weight, but the weight was never a feature. And she done that really well. Yeah, I think you look at her and possibly Rebel Wilson as the closest you get to that variety.
Yeah, definitely.
That and again, their weight is often played for jokes.
Yeah.
Whereas they're not just played as a person.
No.
And it's like, women come in different sizes other than skinny and large.
Yeah, and when you look at when even the MCU did it with Thor, in Endgame,
that was...
but even that was then, oh God bless him, you know, he's someone who, but he will get better. He'll turn back into Thor, and it was played. I don't think it was played as a joke, but it was played as a bit of a sympathy. It was a joke, but a sympathy thing. Yeah,
the reveal was definitely a joke. It's like, oh wow, he's let himself go. Oh, he's sad. He'll get back in shape.
Yeah,
it progressed into the sympathy thing. Whereas like I'm not skinny. Like I'm about a size 18. I don't look it in the face, but I certainly am. Like and a lot of that actually came from health reasons that I have no control over. And a lot of people just blast women for their weight, whether it's up or it's down.
Well,
and
it is entirely your fault. You know, it's completely how it goes.
I'm lazy and I've let myself go and I don't care for myself at all. That's exactly why I'm a size 18.
That's what I get with my partner. She's always out. She works God knows how many hours a day. She works in healthcare, in social healthcare, and is always on the go. She's active, but she's big. And we do. You know, she's got bad skin. She's got psoriasis and stuff like that. And she honestly gets people. You can see people looking at her, judging her, and it's horrible to see.
Yeah. Like my thyroid, like about a year or two ago, just decided to shut down.
Yeah.
And I was putting on weight without even realizing it. And one of the days, I was just like, I had new stretch marks that I hadn't had before, and I by complete accident we found my thyroid problem. So I was getting a blood test for something completely different, and they were like, "Your levels aren't right. I'm gonna refer you back to your GP for this." And that's when he discovered I had hypothyroidism, and my body, even if I had been working out all the time and barely eating anything, I would not have lost a single pound because my body wouldn't let me. And there's so many things like that people don't know about another person. Like even Lizzo, she posted a video on TikTok of her working out. And
I remember seeing that.
She can work out and do stuff I can't. And I'm half her size. And I'm like, go on, girl. Do you know what I mean? And yet she's just like, oh, she's fat, she's lazy. And it's like, you know nothing.
Well, she might be really, really strong. I mean, let's face it, if you people who are sort of trying to build muscle, a lot of the time that will come with extra fat too. Like that's the way it works. Like if you want to put on muscle and you eat more calories and stuff, that doesn't it's pretty much impossible to make it all go to your muscles. Like it's very difficult. Like you eat more calories, and that's the way it works. And I think that there is definitely this assumption for both men and women, I think. But I think that given the sort of sexualization of women, sometimes it's maybe more of a thing with women being attacked, for that sort of thing. But it's definitely a problem for men and women, and there's no consideration of anything, what sort of a person they might be like, or anything like that. And I think this is one of the things that needs to happen maybe in video games, is getting more people who are just more sort of normal looking, more into games, more diversity, not just having the ripped characters anymore. And obviously you get a lot of sort of more actiony type games, and you might think, well, how will that work? The character needs to be strong and stuff. But you do get lots of other types of games as well. Not every game is like that. Not every game is where you're an action hero and stuff.
If my Fallout 4 character can be bone skinny and still have a strength of 9.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
But in your spy games and things like that, is generally most spies don't look like James Bond or Jason Bourne or anything like that. Most spies look like anyone you see in the street because they need to blend in. So how about we start letting people blend in a bit more when you're playing them in certain video games? Don't get me wrong, Call of Duty, where you need a ripped soldier because they are ripped soldiers, fair enough. But other games, maybe, Watch Dogs, for example, games like that, let's introduce more characters where they aren't perfect specimens or near perfect specimens in terms of their physique. That you can do differently.
Little cookie shelf, little paunch on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And a little bit of squish.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to bring it back to an actor you mentioned right at the start, which was, I think, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she is one of the best representations of a normal person in Hollywood that you get, because she's neither ultra skinny, she's not ultra big, she looks normal. And there's something fascinating about her because of that, because she looks just, I don't want to say looks bog standard because that's almost insulting, but she does. She just looks standard.
Well, she is quite thin in terms of like compared to some people I see. But again, I know people who are that thin, where like, cause I'm looking at reference images as I'm talking, so I can. But yeah, no, like I know people that look like her, and I'm attracted to them too. And it's just like, but yeah, no, I loved seeing her in that film. I thought she was great. And even when it came to Margot Robbie, a lot of people backlash of like, oh, they've, made her ugly and with her short hair and stuff. And it's like, no, women don't want to fight in hot pants. If we have to wear shorts, we'll pick high rise. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's.
You don't want your thighs exposed and something to potentially be a target.
No, but it's actually on a sheer practicality of day-to-day wear. A high-waisted is less likely to fall down.
Oh, there you go.
There you go then.
And it's actually a lot more comfortable. Like, I love high-waisted stuff. Like, it's literally just like, even these leggings are technically high-waisted that I have on now, and compared to roaming around in booty shorts, like, it's not very comfortable. It rides up in all the wrong places. Like, she'd have to keep digging out a wedgie. Shouldn't have to do that with her high-waisted shorts. They'll just fit there. It's fine.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So what we're going to do, I'm gonna slightly wrap this up now for two reasons. One, everyone's had enough of the women talking.
Indeed.
We'll be back. Don't worry, Becky. We're gonna come back.
And I do this from home, but my kids are out the back still, so I can probably let them in at some point. But just to finish off, what we've gathered from this, obviously, is that as women, you want every single character in every single piece of media, be it video game, movie, books, to be a black lesbian woman who's actually transgender with many disabilities and immigrant children. That's what every character has to be moving forward. Yes,
absolutely.
Every single one.
Yeah.
And we won't. You're not going to rest until men aren't able to play as men in video games anymore.
No, not going to rest.
Rest
every night and every day. That's all I plan. I draw up the characters myself, and that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
But no, it's been a fascinating talk. This one, it's again because me and another man, we could discuss it and we can say all the right things, but we don't get it from a woman's perspective. So it's been an absolutely fascinating talk, and I dare say this is one we will definitely revisit at some point, because it's obviously we've not solved.
Women have been trying for how many years?
Yeah, and I've done it in an hour and a half. So there we go.
Perfect.
But yeah, obviously we've not solved it. There's going to be other things that come out, and this is definitely something we'll revisit.
Definitely.
But honestly, to both of you, thank you for joining us with this one.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, no, and we'll definitely get you back on for some more regular stuff as well.
Definitely.
Cool. Yeah.
So as usual with this, just if you want to discuss anything with us, then jump on our Discord. Everyone's open. Anyone will chat. We can listen to your event. If you've got questions, or even if you want to challenge us on anything that's said, then please feel free to jump on there. It's a completely safe space. No one judges anyone. No one's actually gonna, for want of a better word, blow smoke up your ass just because you said something. You could be wrong. People will say it, but you're not going to get judged for things. So that's there. Reach out on Twitter. And if you do want to support us with hosting costs and stuff, then we do have a Patreon and a Coffee account, and you can find links to those. But for now, that's been another episode of Deeper Cuts. Thank you for listening. Until next time.